Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's VinPF, and on today's episode we've got another sample Saturday, but we've got an absolutely massive sample Saturday for you today. Usually I cover, I don't know, 2, maybe, sometimes I've done 1 to be fair, 1, 2, 3, 4, pushing it at 5. Today I've got a massive 6 drams. I did think about splitting this down into 3 different videos, but I thought you might want to just see all of them in one go, because then, you know, we'll get all the way through it. One long video. Hopefully you'll sit through it with me and we'll go through this one by one, swapping and changing down in the chapters if you want. But what we're covering today is Brave New Spirits. Now these are an indie bottler, and they do all kinds of kind of casks stuff. You know, you can buy casks off them if you're in the know and you've got the money. But the liquid they're putting out, they've got what they call kind of like volume releases. So, you know, kind of regular kind of batch stuff, but what we're covering today is what they're calling kind of their connoisseurs section. Lots of independent bottles, lots of different sub-brands, therefore lots of different Instagram accounts to follow. But what I'll do today, I've got 6 drams across 3 different brands, 2 of each. So I'll bring them up 2 at a time, we'll cover them, we'll go through it, and we'll talk about it. But as always, this is a sample Saturday, so minimal research from me. I've literally poured these a reasonable amount of time before shooting this video, but I haven't really kind of clicked around, seen any information about this. Luckily, I've been given some cards that I can talk through, so I do have some information at least, including the prices. Although I have to say they're not all in one place, so if you're particularly interested in anything I talk about today, you might need to get on Google and have a look, because there's some on Master of Malt, there's some on, I don't know, they're all over the place. You know, different outlets have different amounts of it. So, yeah, I have put some effort into putting these in some sort of logical order, but to be honest with you, they're all, they're all very high ABVs. Some are peated, some aren't. So, yeah, whatever will be. But I've got my trusty glass of water here to have a little cleanse in between. I won't be hitting big tasting notes as I normally do, just kind of first impressions, and we'll talk about each as we go. Alright then, let's get onto it. So the first little subsection we're going to talk about, it's all down here, smoke and mirrors, is the Voodoo. I have to say I don't really know much about why it's all been separated out, apart from, I mean, they just look cool, I think, is the truth, but someone might be able to tell me. I could have asked, I suppose. But yeah, they cover, it's all over the place. Best thing to do is probably just get straight into it so we can see what we've got. The first one then, this is the Voodoo, the High Priest, sorry. And this one here is you can see, so this is the little range they've got there. My little cards say this and this. This is the High Priest. It's an Island single malt Scotch whisky distilled at Orkney Islands, whatever that means. Finished in a first fill Bordeaux cask, wine barrique. Aged 8 years, 52.6%, 1,263 bottles available, and this is going to be 70 quid. Presumably non-chill filtered, natural coloured. I don't have a full-size bottle, so presumably, I mean, why wouldn't you if you're aiming towards the connoisseur? So, yeah, looks pretty good to me. Let's get into it and see what we got. I mean, if that's not Highland Park, then, you know, I don't stake my career and my channel on it, but I'd be very surprised if it isn't. It's got that kind of heatheriness to it that I like. Could be either. It smells fantastic, anyway. Let's get, did I say, yeah, 52.6%. Let's get onto the palate. Now, I should say, I didn't say before I started this, just in case this is the first sample Saturday you've seen, when I tend to do this, I tend to smell it a little bit, then go to the palate, and then go back to the nose. And the reason for that is that I feel like my olfactory system, as it's called, needs a full cycle before I can start picking things out. But oh, that was a lovely palate. Yeah, it's like, for me, it's heather. It's got a little bit of marzipan. Probably should have thought about that. I mean, if I really thought it was Highland Park, then I probably would have thought about a little bit of smokiness. Maybe not a great place to start, but, you know, we're here. Red wine is subtle, but I get it. On the back end, a little bit of kind of like, I don't know, like it's like hedgerowy, a bit blackberry. Yeah, why not? Back to the palate. Yeah, it's like, it's bags of, it's the same as the nose really. Bags of that heather, that blackberry's coming through again. Now that I've said it out loud, it's kind of lodged itself in my brain. Definitely kind of like hedgerow foraging. That's lovely. 70 quid, it's a lot of money, but you know, I'm only going to have a wee nip of these as well. You know, these will get probably put back in the sample bottles, to be fair, later, but we'll see. Okay, cracking start, I will say, cracking start. The next one then, Voodoo again, the Mask of Death. They're all very, what's the word I'm looking for? Energetic. It's not the word I'm looking for, it'll come to me later. Dramatic, that's the word I'm looking for. The Mask of Death then. Here we've got a Speyside single malt Scotch whisky, matured in bourbon barrels, distilled at Dalhouin. I always have to pause before I say that word because that is not how it's spelt. Dalhouin, 10 years, 55%, 837 bottles in the outturn. Yeah, again, you know, the labels look cool, man. Do you know what that's what draws me to Brave New Spirits in general, is the labels are just cool. I know good quality whiskey is what it's all about, of course, but did I say 58 quid? I think this is the cheapest one in the whole turnout that I've got today. Yes, by a good tenner as well. So yeah, again, looks lovely. Not very well versed in Dalhouin, I must admit. Let's get onto the nose then. Okay, yeah, I should have started with this one. Oi, oi, oi. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay. It's very hot in this room as well, so if I henceforth, then you'll know why. Okay, let's go back to the nose. Okay, I mean, it's so sweet. It's like creme brulee, vanillas. Yeah, like honeys, all that. Yeah, I mean, it's very Speyside, but all the better for it. Let's try back on the palate again. Yeah, man. Classic Speyside ex-bourbon, but presented really well. It's got a kind of, it's all the things I love. Those orchard fruits, that creme brulee. Oh, yeah. It's just, I mean, it's classic. It's classic, I will say. A little bit of waxiness that I wasn't expecting. It's almost liquidy in character. I don't know if that's normal, but cracking. I mean, especially if that's the cheapest one. I'm there for that. Okay, right. Let's bin these off. Now, next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit what they're calling Cask Noir. Again, very dramatic. I'm not really sure why they're calling it that, but you know, I guess it's weird stuff. Maybe weird stuff. So yeah, let's bring these out and see what we got. So what we have here then is Ghost of the Hill and Mutiny on the Wire Majestic. I don't know who comes up with these names. They're brilliant. I love it. I'm there for it. Okay, so, well, I don't know, man. You know me. Let's not mess about. Let's get straight into it. Otherwise, this is going to be a really long video. So the first one then, the Ghost of the Hill, not Ghost on the Hill. This one here is single grain. You know I love a single grain. This is a Lowland single grain Scotch whisky. I should show you this as well. Boom. There you go. Distilled at Port Dundas. I can be a bit hit or miss with them. Finished in a first fill Lafitte wine barrique. Don't know much about that. All I know is it's an expensive red wine. Yeah, 17 years, not bad. 54.6%, 307 bottles, £88 for the pleasure of a bottle of it. Yeah, man. Okay. Again, I'm a big fan of grain whiskey. As you might have seen on previous videos. Port Dundas. Haven't had a specific bottle of Port Dundas before, but I've definitely tried a lot of it. But let's get into it. Okay. Weird stuff happening. And by that, I mean unexpected stuff happening. As in, my nose is like, do not recognise. Okay, well, you know, in typical fashion, let's do palate, and then we'll go back. Oi, oi, oi. I mean, my brain does not know what to make of that. That is crazy. Okay, I mean, I need to make some sense of that for you. So, okay. Now for me, okay, right, okay. So it isn't sulphurous, but it's in that vein. It's that kind of burnt match vibe I'm getting off of this for sure, which is weird. No sherry in this. I guess that must be the wine cask for sure. But it mingles in very oddly with the classic grain notes. You know, those kind of butterscotches, those vanillas. It's only finished in this cask, so this would have been sat for many years in an ex-bourbon, probably a refill, like most grains are. But, yeah, it's extremely burnt matchy, which I know loads of people love, and actually, traditionally, that's a bit of a turn-off for me, but actually, I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying it because of its weirdness, I will say that. In terms of what my actual go-to off-screen drinking goes to, this is a little bit out there for me, but I appreciate weird stuff, man. Yeah, that is bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. I tell you what I'm going to do with that. I'm going to say what I've got left of this. You can see, look, I'm barely at just a tickle. I'm going to share that with people in a good way, I mean, because I've never tried anything like that before in my life. Weird. Okay, good. Next up then, this is the most expensive one today. We've got here the Mutiny on the Wire Majestic. I don't know what about that makes me want to say it like that, but I think if I had a bottle of this, which is unlikely to be fair because it's very expensive, but if I had a bottle of this, I think every time I said that, I would say it like that. Just a fact. So then, okay, this one's going to introduce a lot of people. What we've got here is, again, Cask Noir. This is it's a Bunnahabhain. Well, sort of. A Moyne, Isla single malt whiskey, Moyne, distilled at Bunnahabhain. Have to admit, didn't research this, so don't know what that means. What I imagine it means is a more robustly peated Bunnahabhain, or at least an independently bottled one, because sometimes that happens. You know, you got like Williamson with Lefroy. I guess that's what's happened. Don't know. You'll tell me below, I'm sure. As people want to do, matured in a second fill bourbon barrel. That's cool. I like that because usually, obviously, you'll get, first fill and then it'll just be refill. So the fact that they're calling it specifically second fill, I think is quite cool. I like that. Aged 10 years, 56.8%, 231 bottles, £140. That's the old Bunnahabhain name doing its thing, for sure. Okay, let's get onto it. It's peated, which is good because I think I actually planned that right because the next two are peated as well. The last two. Interesting. Ah, do you know what? When I saw the price of that, I was so ready to just be like, oh, it's going to be too much money. Where? Oh, it's good though. It's good. That sort of annoys me. That it's good, because it would be so easy to go, oh, it's been half 140 quid, you know, they're charging too much money. But I mean, I imagine they're just passing on the cost of the barrel to us, you know, because that's what happens. A name gets big, the barrels get more expensive, blah, blah, blah. On the nose then properly. Subtle smoke on the nose, but it's definitely there. Sea air. Classic ex-bourbon casks. You know, vanillas, that sort of thing. I mean, the nose is very... It's very understated, to be fair, but in a good way. It's kind of very easy sniffing. But if you like your kind of like... It's not... I mean, it's not like in-your-face peat. It's just a nice wafty smoke on the nose. And if you like that sort of thing, well in. Let's go back to the palate. Subtle sweet smoke, mingled in with those vanillas. A little bit of briny, bit of sea air. Here's the weird thing about it. Now, it doesn't taste 10 years old. I tried a good amount of Bunnahabhain over the years. It's got a nice robustness to it. You could have easily convinced me that this was you know, maybe I was going to say double then off the cuff, but maybe not double, but maybe another 50%, maybe another 5 years. Very expensive though, very expensive. 100%. There's no way I'd be buying a bottle of that because I can't afford that sort of money. Very rarely have I ever spent that sort of money on a whiskey. Twice, in fact, actually. Yeah, only twice have I ever spent that sort of money. My kind of like comfort zone is obviously less than 50 is perfect, but I'll be tempted to go up to 75 usually. After that, it requires a great deal of thought and, you know, aligning nicely with a small windfall of money, like a tax return or something like that, if I'm going to spend more. But that, I mean, that is stunning. That is stunning whiskey. Oy. Yeah. What can you say? Right, we're jumping through these. Now, I've had to save these two till last because they are peaty. But in terms of labelling, this is my favourite. I love these things. This is the Cask Heroes brand. If you can just about see, probably not. Blah, blah, blah. These are like, basically they're kind of mimicking comic book covers. And I freaking love it. When I first saw it, I've only just caught onto this, to be fair. I only saw them on Instagram recently. When I first saw it, I was like, these are freaking awesome. I'm a big fan of comic books. I've got a little collection upstairs. Not huge. I don't buy every week anymore. But I used to on a Wednesday. So to get these is pretty cool. They look fabulous. And I don't keep bottles after I finish them usually, but I would be tempted with these because specifically I really like them. Really like them. Okay, let's bring them up. Now, what we've got here then, we've got the Deep Creatures of the Lake and the Defender of the Crown. Going them in the order that I was sent them. We've got here, so the first one then, Deep Creatures of the Lake. It's an Inchmurrin, right? So it's an Inchmurrin, but here it says distilled in Loch Lomond Distillery, which is correct. Matured in first fill bourbon barrels, aged 10 years, 58.1%, 425 bottles, and 68 quid. So the second cheapest. You know me, I love Loch Lomond. Let's have a peeky peek. Nice and it's kind of like light goldy colour for sure. Maybe even a deep straw. Let's get into it. Oh. Again, strange. Very strange. Let's do palate. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Again, Now, okay, so earlier on I said something along the lines of, my brain doesn't know how to comprehend this. This is similar but slightly different. This is like extremely familiar but not being able to put my finger on it. But it's Loch Lomond, man. Loch Lomond know how to do that. Okay, now, earlier I mentioned that one of these had marzipan on them. I forget exactly which. But you can forget that because this is like marzipan up front. That kind of Battenberg cake, it's got everything cakey vibe about it, vanillas. That's it. It's like ice and sugar. Lovely. Again, neatly translates onto the palate, that does. It reminds me, when I grew up, in the kitchen we had, the usual stuff, cupboards, fridges, whatever, but we had what we used to call a pantry, which I know many of you watching will know what I mean, but not everybody. But it was like, like a dry goods store. Big cupboard, it was a huge cupboard, you could literally walk into it. But what I remember about walking in there is when my mum had made cakes, the overwhelming smell of marzipan used to just take over that whole room. And I've just had like a weird flashback to that. And having whiskey, it's getting deep now, but basically my kind of running ethos is that your smell and your taste aren't really smell and taste, they're just memory. Like if you had no idea what a lemon tasted like, you wouldn't be able to tell me that you tasted lemon in a whiskey. You'd go, I taste a thing and I don't know what it is. Yet to associate it with a thing, you have to have smelt or tasted that thing. So it's all about connections, synapses firing. And that's fine, if you get that kind of thing, you smell a lemon, I get a lemon, great. When a whiskey taps into something like that, that's when I absolutely love it. Perfect. It's not the best whiskey on the table for sure, but because it's managed to fire that, I'm into it. Okay. Let's move on before I have to call my mum. Next one then, we've got Defender of the Crown. Now this one here, let the sword speak. I love it. It's brilliant. I love these. I just love these labels. I was just reading the rest of that. It said no commercial value. True. I'm not going to sell them. Okay, so it's peated Annandale distillery. Something I've never covered an Annandale on the channel before, so that's cool. Matured in first fill Oloroso sherry butt. 8 years old. 52.9%. 676 bottles. 73 quid was the price I found. And don't we know it that this is sherry cask? Look at that. What a beaut. Let's have a go. Well, before I have a go, I haven't tried this yet. I do tend to like peat and sherry together. Not a huge fan of sherry cask influence on normal whiskey, non-peated whiskey, but peated whiskey, yes. So we'll see. Oh wow, I mean that's a lot of sherry. Like that stank of sherry that does. Actually, I'll go as far to say that I can't smell much smoke over the sherry, which is really interesting. I mean, it's there. I guess it's there in the background, but it isn't the main player of the nose. Okay, let's do my normal thing. Palate and then back. Woof. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. Juicy. Okay, back. Yeah, now that I've tasted the peat, I can get it on the nose. It's really light though. The big player is the sherry. Oloroso is always a bit dry for me. I'm much more of a PXy kind of guy. I like that kind of sweetness. So it's following those lines, those kind of like dry fruits, those kind of I mean, it's not even raisins. It's definitely like more of the sultana vibe. You know, it's a bit more bitter. Nice enough. Not my usual go-to, but nice enough. Let's go back to the palate. Yeah, I mean, there's loads going on. I reckon you could try something different on that every time. So over that kind of tasting, I got the sherry notes. I got a little bit of youthful barley kind of maltiness from it, which is, you know, always good to have. I like that. Mingles in nicely. The smoke again is a kind of a back player to all of this, and that's great. You know, it's kind of mingling in backwards, which is not what I was expecting. I was expecting it to be quite heavy up front. That said, even with heavy cleansing, I've just had 2 other peatids before it, so maybe that's playing a factor, as always. Nice enough. Probably a little bit too much Oloroso for me, but that'll be an absolute bonus to someone out there for sure, without doubt. Okay, that was huge. Huge tasting. Let me know what you think about that, because traditionally I might have broken that down into 3 different videos. Ideally I'd want to do 2, because I don't want to do, you know, 3 lots of it, but if you enjoyed that, let me know. It's been fairly long, you know, 25 minutes odd, so I appreciate your feedback on it. Brave New Spirit's doing wonderful things. All of these were great in their own rights. I mean, talking about favourites, which is what I tend to do, I mean, the Bunnahabhain was the best quality whiskey here, but if we're talking about price versus impact, then unfortunately I just would never get that. I mean, the Loch Lomond is going to have to win it out for me, just because of that crazy unlock. And then probably the Mask of Death. So Deep Creatures of the Lake and Mask of Death, which what's this second one? Let's go back to that quickly. I mean, that's just glorious. Absolutely glorious. But ironically, the 2 cheapest ones on the table, 58 and 68, bargains. There you go. Let me know what you think of Brave New Spirits. Have you tried any of these? Are they now on your radar? And they weren't. Make sure you go on Instagram, because they've got a Cask Noir, they've got a Voodoo whiskey, they've got a Brave New Spirits, they've got a Whisky Heroes Instagram, all covering all different kinds of stuff like that. So make sure you go and check them out. But yeah, really great stuff. I'm going to really enjoy that. And that really crazy one I'm going to share with some people for sure. Okay, I'm done. You're done. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again on more videos soon. Cheers.